business news, the Attorney General of the 36 states of the Federation have dragged the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, before the Supreme Court over failure for the federal government to remit the funds generated from stamp duties into state account. In the suit, the 36th Attorney General are praying the court to determine whether or not the state have the sole authority to administer and collect stamp duties on all transactions involving individuals with presence within their respective state. The House of Representatives said on Thursday that it was ready to receive communication from President Buhari on the date that the 2022 budget proposal would be laid before the joint session of the National Assembly. The Chairman House Committee on Rules and Business, Abubakar Faluta, stated this during a news conference in Abuja. He assured Nigerians that House on resumption for the third legislative year activities next week, Tuesday, will prioritize issues bordering on security, challenges, constitution review, flooding, among others. Away from that, Deputy Governor Operations Directorate at the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Folashodun Shonubi, had urged deposit money banks to strengthen their operational capacity to effectively harness the opportunities of the Naira. Shonubi gave the advice virtually at a Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria dialogue yesterday in Lagos State, noted that most nations of the world are embracing the opportunities that central bank digital currency presents for financial inclusion across the globe. He said, in quote, "Through Nigerians has blazed the trail in instant payments, we rank top when it comes to instant payments. The CBDC generally will improve efficiency and promote opportunities for jurisdictions without instant payment options to leapfrog on their operations of faster payment mode." End of quote. And moving on, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council had emphasized the need for Nigerian exporters to deploy effective logistics supply chains to export their products to the international markets. According to the Chief Executive Officer of the NEPC, Olusegun Awolowo, the Council has identified poor logistics and documentation as some of the major challenges hindering Nigerians' export markets, noting that these challenges could make or mar export transactions. Awolowo, who was represented by Director Trade Information of the NEPC, Mrs. Evelyn Obidike, at its 2021 workshops on non-oil export logistics, said the essence of the workshop was in response to the needs of Nigerian exporters, explaining that the focus of the Council in recent times has been to solve issues and challenges hindering export trade. Stakeholders have highlighted the underlying issues hampering the growth of intra-African trade despite the ratification of African Continental Free Trade Agreements by 39 of 54 countries on the continent. At the 50th anniversary of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, the Secretary General to the ARIA, Wamkele Mene, said interconnectivity and transit of goods were among the major challenges. He said various tariffs and levies across the borders increased the cost of connectivity between nations on the continent. Major operators in the downstream sector have stated that a new agenda that aligns with development and utilization of liquefied petroleum gas, otherwise known as cooking gas, would be pursued under the Petroleum Industry Act regime, as well as in line with transition goal. According to the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, MOMAN, the world is changing rapidly and the oil and gas industry has been proven to be one of the most exposed to the wind of change. MOMAN Chairman Olumide Adeosun, during a chat with journalists to announce his appointment as a new leader of the association, noted that the current hike in the price of LPG is a global concern, adding that Nigeria does not produce sufficient LPG, hence the spike in the price of the products in the domestic market. And now on the African scene, Kenya's economy had expanded by 515 billion than earlier thought after it was rebased to capture new sectors whose output had grown in recent years. The review of national economic data, commonly known as rebasing increase of 2019 GDP in nominal terms to 1.2 trillion up to 9.7 trillion. This was much lower than 5.4% jump when Kenya rebased the economy a decade ago that increased 2013 GDP from 3.6 trillion to 4.3 trillion. This is the seventh time Kenya's economy will be undergoing rebasing, with previous ones in 1957, 1967, 1976, 1985, 2005, and 2014. Now, construction posted an 11.8% growth in value last year, buoyed by increase in government expenditures. The Economic Survey 2021 released on Thursday shows that the sector's gross domestic product stood at 518.5 billion in 2020 compared to 463.63 billion in the previous year. According to further reports, the construction sector's growth was largely buoyed by continued investment in public infrastructure during the review period, as evidenced by a sharp increase in demand for construction materials. As a result, the value of public residential buildings increased by 7.6 billion last year from 1.5 billion in 2019. Now, moving on to the foreign scene, Asian stocks rose Friday, along with US and European futures, as well as in Japan and Chinese technology shares brought some relief from the economic growth concerns that shadowed global equities this week. Traders were also evaluating a telephone call between President Joe Biden and China's Xi Jinping to see if increasing adversarial relationship between the two sides could be repaired. The Shanghai Composite Index was on track for the highest close since 2015, and the offshore yuan ticked higher. The S&P 500 overnight posted its longest losing streak since June, hurt by concerns about slower economic reopening due to the Delta virus strain. And oil prices rose on Friday, ongoing signs of tightness in the U.S. markets after Hurricane Ida hit offshore output, although benchmarks were heading for weekly losses of about 1% after China announced plans to sell crude from its strategic reserves. Brent crude futures for November rose 44 cents or 0.6% to $71.89 a barrel in early trade. The U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures for October was at $68.49 a barrel, up 35 cents or 0.5%. Both contracts fell more than 1% to settle at their lowest since August 26 on Thursday, after China said it would release crude oil reserves to the market via public auction to ease the pressure of high feedstock costs on domestic refiners, in a move that was described as a first.